Over the last few years, something strange happened in America. Americans didn't stop moving. They stopped choosing the cities everyone said were the future. Austin, Tampa, Phoenix, Miami, Denver, these weren't failing cities, but the value that drew people there quietly disappeared, so people didn't give up. They chose better options, and they didn't choose them randomly. In this video, we break down where Americans are moving instead, what pushed them to leave, and why those new destinations are winning. It starts with the migration map. When Austin residents decided to leave between 2023 and 2025, they didn't scatter randomly across America. They followed specific patterns to specific places. The number one destination, Dallas-Fort Worth. Not California, where many originally came from. Not a different state entirely. The same state, just 3 hours north. Denver came in second as a destination for Austin leavers. Then came other Texas metros like San Antonio and Houston. Las Vegas pulled some. And interestingly, many people moved to suburban Austin communities like Georgetown, Round Rock, and Hutto. They wanted to stay near Austin without Austin prices. This pattern reveals something critical about the migration reversal. People weren't rejecting Texas. They weren't rejecting the Sun Belt. They weren't rejecting the lifestyle they'd moved for. They were rejecting the specific combination of high prices, deteriorating value, and better alternatives that existed 3 hours away. Tampa told a different story. When Tampa residents left, they chose North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee most frequently. Charlotte and Raleigh topped the list. Atlanta pulled significant numbers. Nashville attracted some. Within Florida, people moved to Ocala and Jacksonville, where home prices run 30% to 40% lower than Tampa, and insurance costs less. Some went to Texas, particularly Dallas-Fort Worth and Austin, though Austin's appeal was already fading by late 2024. The pattern here shows people trading Florida's insurance crisis and hurricane risk for the Carolinas' stability. They got similar weather, better seasons, lower costs, and normal insurance premiums. The value proposition was obvious. Phoenix sent migrants in multiple directions. Dallas-Fort Worth appeared again as the top destination. That metro keeps winning refugees from expensive Sunbelt cities. Las Vegas came in second, then San Diego and Los Angeles, despite being more expensive, because some people decided if they were going to pay high prices, they'd rather get California amenities and water security. Within Arizona, Tucson and Flagstaff attracted people looking for cooler temperatures and better long-term water prospects without leaving the state entirely. The Phoenix migration pattern shows people weren't just seeking affordability, they were seeking sustainability. When you start questioning whether your city has enough water for the next 30 years, affordability takes a backseat to existential viability. Denver's outmigration scattered more widely. Colorado suburbs absorbed some. Colorado Springs pulled significant numbers. Other Mountain West cities like Boise and Salt Lake City attracted people seeking similar outdoor access for lower cost. Then came a surprising flow to Midwest metros: Minneapolis, Kansas City, Indianapolis. These weren't traditional Sun Belt destinations. These were people who realized remote work meant they could choose any city with reasonable cost of living and decent quality of life. The Mountain West premium stopped being worth it when housing costs doubled while wages stayed flat. Miami's migration pattern was unique because fewer people actually left. Instead, the composition shifted. Foreign buyers dropped from 50% of condo purchases in 2018 to 10% of all sales by 2024. The domestic buyers who did leave chose the Carolinas, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas. Some moved inland within Florida to escape the worst of the condo crisis and insurance costs. But Miami's real story is buyer replacement failure. Foreign capital left and domestic buyers didn't fill the gap. That's why days on market stretched to 69, the longest in America. San Jose and Oakland sent people to Sacramento first. The California capital became the primary escape valve for Bay Area residents who wanted to stay in California but couldn't afford $1.5 million homes. The Central Valley absorbed some. Stockton, Modesto, Fresno. These historically agricultural regions became bedroom communities for Bay Area remote workers. Other East Bay suburbs like Alameda, Walnut Creek, Lafayette, and Pleasant Hill pulled Oakland residents specifically seeking safer neighborhoods at similar or lower prices. Out of state, Austin still attracted some Bay Area refugees despite Austin's own cooling. Phoenix pulled some. Various Midwest metros with growing tech scenes attracted others. The Bay Area migration shows people exhausting local alternatives before leaving California entirely. But when local alternatives still cost $700,000 to $900,000, many eventually chose to leave the state. Houston, despite relatively stable fundamentals, still lost some residents to other Texas metros, San Antonio, Dallas suburbs, Austin suburbs. People sought slightly better value or job opportunities in other parts of the state. The Carolinas pulled some Houston residents. These were typically people prioritizing seasons and climate diversity over Texas tax policy. Jacksonville lost millennials to the Carolinas and Georgia primarily. Raleigh, Charlotte, and Atlanta offered better urban amenities, comparable job markets, and similar or lower total housing costs. The pattern across all 9 cities shows something consistent. People moved to cities offering what the origin cities promised but failed to deliver. They didn't move randomly. They moved strategically to specific metros that solved specific problems. Number 2, why Dallas-Fort Worth keeps winning. Dallas-Fort Worth appears on almost every migration list from the 9 declining cities. There's a reason. DFW offers what Austin promised 5 years ago: Texas tax policy, strong job growth, decent weather, and home prices that work with normal household incomes. A home that costs $500,000 in Austin costs $400,000 in Fort Worth suburbs. A home that costs $1.5 million in San Jose costs $500,000 in DFW. A home that costs $700,000 in Oakland costs $450,000 in DFW. Same mortgage rates, but the monthly payment drops by $630 from Austin, $2,500 from San Jose, $1,580 from Oakland. That's not marginal savings. That's life-changing money. Over 30 years, choosing DFW over Austin saves $227,000 in mortgage payments alone. Choosing DFW over San Jose saves $900,000. Those are college educations, retirement accounts, small business capital, or just financial breathing room. Beyond pure affordability, DFW offers infrastructure that newer Sunbelt booms lack. The metro has been growing for decades. Roads exist, schools exist, parks exist, utilities exist. You're not betting on future development that may never come. Job market diversity protects against sector-specific downturns: energy, tech, healthcare, finance, logistics, manufacturing. When one sector contracts, others stay stable or grow. Austin became overexposed to tech. When tech contracted, the entire market suffered. DFW diversification prevents that. The metro also offers genuine urban amenities: a major international airport, professional sports teams, cultural institutions, entertainment districts. These aren't afterthoughts. They're established infrastructure built over 50 years. For families, DFW provides school choice: multiple independent school districts, charter options, private schools, suburban districts with strong ratings. Austin's school system couldn't keep pace with population growth. DFW's infrastructure already existed. Property taxes in Texas are high, around 1.8% to 2.2% of home value. That's a real cost, but there's no state income tax. For households earning $100,000 plus, the income tax savings typically exceed the property tax increase versus states with both income and property taxes. Climate is manageable. Summers are hot, but not Phoenix-level extreme. You get 4 seasons. Winter exists. Trees exist. It feels more livable than pure desert. Most importantly, DFW isn't overhyped yet. It's not the next Austin being marketed to the world. It's just a large, functional metro with reasonable costs and stable growth. That stability is exactly what people leaving Austin, Phoenix, and the Bay Area are seeking. Number 3. Why the Carolinas? North Carolina and South Carolina are winning refugees from Florida for one simple reason. They offer what Florida promised without Florida's problems. Good weather, the Carolinas deliver. Not as hot year-round as Florida, but warm enough. Actual seasons, fall leaves, occasional snow in winter, beach access, mountain access within a few hours. Lower cost of living than the Northeast? Check. A $380,000 home in Raleigh or Charlotte offers more space and better schools than a $420,000 home in Tampa. Growing job markets? Charlotte has Bank of America headquarters, a major airport, and expanding finance and tech sectors. Raleigh has Research Triangle Park with pharmaceutical, biotech, and technology companies. Both metros offer diverse employment without dependence on tourism or real estate. The critical advantage, normal insurance costs. Homeowners insurance in North Carolina averages $1,500 to $2,000 annually. South Carolina runs similar. These are normal, manageable costs. Florida averages $5,376 statewide, with coastal areas far higher. Tampa homeowners pay $6,000 to $10,000 annually. Miami condo owners pay $2,300 just for unit coverage, plus building master policies driving HOA fees to $900 to $1,500 monthly. The Carolinas don't have that problem. Hurricanes occasionally hit, but building codes are strong and insurance markets are functional. You get a quote, it's reasonable, and you move forward. For a family comparing Tampa to Raleigh, the math is stark. Tampa, $420,000 median home, $6,500 annual insurance, $400 monthly property taxes, total monthly cost around $3,700. Raleigh, $380,000 median home, $1,500 annual insurance, $280 monthly property taxes. Total monthly cost around $2,800. That's $900 monthly savings, or $10,800 annually. Over 30 years, that's $324,000 saved just by choosing Raleigh over Tampa. Plus, you avoid hurricane evacuation stress, special assessments on condo buildings, and the existential question of whether Florida is sustainable long-term. The Carolinas also offer better work-life balance. Traffic is manageable in Charlotte and Raleigh. Commutes average 25 to 30 minutes, not the 45 to 60 minutes increasingly common in Tampa. Parks and green space are abundant. You're within a few hours of both beaches and mountains. Asheville, the Outer Banks, Charleston, Wilmington, all accessible for weekend trips. Education infrastructure is stronger. North Carolina has UNC Chapel Hill, Duke, NC State. South Carolina has Clemson, USC. The metro areas have strong public school systems and growing private school options. For young families specifically, the Carolinas offer something Florida struggles with: community stability. People move to the Carolinas and stay. They build lives, raise kids, establish roots. Florida increasingly feels transient. People move there for the weather, stay a few years, then leave when insurance costs spike or hurricanes hit. That transience makes building community harder. The Carolinas are winning because they're the stable, sensible choice, not the flashy choice, not the choice that gets hyped on social media. Just the choice that works financially and lifestyle-wise for families in their 30s and 40s. Number 4. Why Las Vegas beats Phoenix. When Phoenix residents started questioning water sustainability and extreme heat, many looked at Las Vegas and found a surprising answer. Vegas planned better. Both cities are in the desert. Both face water constraints. Both experience extreme summer heat. The difference is infrastructure and planning. Las Vegas gets its water from Lake Mead, which is at historically low levels, but the city invested heavily in conservation and efficiency over 30 years. Southern Nevada Water Authority built redundant intake pipes at different depths in Lake Mead. Even if the lake drops to historically low levels, Vegas can still draw water. They've planned for worst-case scenarios. The region pays homeowners to remove grass lawns and replace with desert landscaping. They recycle nearly all indoor water. They restrict outdoor watering. These aren't emergency measures. These are long-term policies implemented decades ago. Phoenix's water situation feels more precarious. The metro relies on a mix of Colorado River water, groundwater, and cap allocations. When groundwater models showed depletion, the state froze development on 300,000 to 500,000 planned homes. That freeze signaled that Phoenix hadn't planned adequately for growth. The infrastructure wasn't there to support expansion. That spooked buyers in a way Vegas's proactive conservation didn't. Beyond water, Las Vegas offers functional infrastructure that Phoenix lacks in newer suburbs. Vegas has been a large metro for 40 years. Roads, schools, parks, utilities, they exist throughout the metro area. You're not moving to a brand new subdivision with no infrastructure, hoping it gets built eventually. Phoenix's rapid expansion created huge swaths of suburban development without corresponding infrastructure. Some areas have schools 20 minutes away. Parks are sparse. Traffic infrastructure lags population growth. Las Vegas also offers better entertainment and dining infrastructure. That matters for quality of life. If you're living in the desert accepting extreme heat and water constraints, you want world-class restaurants, shows, sports, and entertainment to compensate. Vegas delivers that. Phoenix is improving but still feels sparse by comparison. Housing costs in Las Vegas ran hot during the pandemic boom, but they've stabilized around $400,000 to $450,000 median. That's similar to Phoenix, but the perception of water security and better planning gives Vegas an edge. Nevada's tax policy helps too. No state income tax, like Texas and Florida. That matters for high-income earners comparing metros. For Phoenix residents questioning long-term sustainability, Las Vegas represents desert living with better risk management. You're still betting on the desert, but you're betting on a city that planned for constraints rather than hoping they'd never arrive. Number 5. Why Sacramento wins Bay Area refugees. Sacramento became the primary escape valve for Bay Area residents who want to stay in California without destroying their financial futures. The value proposition is simple. Cut your housing cost by 50% to 60% while staying in the same state with the same job. A $1.5 million home in San Jose becomes a $550,000 home in Sacramento. A $700,000 home in Oakland becomes a $450,000 home in Sacramento. Monthly mortgage payment drops from $7,000 to $2,800. That's $4,200 monthly, or $50,400 annually. Over 30 years, that's $1.5 million in savings. For state government workers, Sacramento is an obvious move. The state capital offers tens of thousands of government jobs with stable pay and benefits. You're not taking a career risk by moving there. For people with Bay Area remote jobs, Sacramento offers the same access to California's economy without the cost. You're 2 hours from San Francisco, closer to Tahoe for skiing, closer to wine country. The geographic positioning is actually better for lifestyle activities. Sacramento's climate is more manageable than the Bay Area in some ways. Hotter summers, but more sunshine overall. Actual seasons, lower humidity, no fog. The region's cost of living extends beyond housing. Restaurants cost 30% less than San Francisco. Gas is cheaper. Groceries are cheaper. Childcare runs $1,200 monthly versus $2,000 plus in the Bay Area. For young families, this matters tremendously. A household earning $150,000 in the Bay Area feels middle class and stretched. That same household in Sacramento feels upper middle class with savings capacity. Sacramento's infrastructure has improved dramatically over 20 years. The downtown revitalized. Midtown became a legitimate neighborhood with restaurants, bars, and culture. The Arena District added entertainment options. Is it San Francisco? No. But it's functional, improving, and offers reasonable urban amenities without San Francisco's dysfunction around homelessness, crime, and deteriorating public services. Schools in Sacramento suburbs are strong. Folsom, El Dorado Hills, Rockland, these areas offer good public schools without the competition and stress of Bay Area school systems. The political and social environment is more moderate than the Bay Area. For people exhausted by San Francisco's progressive politics without corresponding quality of life improvements, Sacramento feels more balanced. The migration pattern shows people using Sacramento as a stepping stone. Some stay permanently, others use it to rebuild savings, then either move back to the Bay Area if affordability improves or relocate to other states. Either way, Sacramento serves its purpose, allowing people to stay in California without financial ruin. Number 6. Why Georgia and Tennessee are rising. Atlanta and Nashville represent a different value proposition. Corporate job markets without coastal costs. Atlanta has Delta, Coca-Cola, Home Depot, UPS, and hundreds of other corporate headquarters. It's a legitimate economic center, not a city hoping to become one. The airport is the world's busiest. That matters for business travel, direct flights, and geographic connectivity. Home prices in Atlanta Metro run $350,000 to $400,000 median. That's 20% to 30% below Tampa, 35% below Denver, 50% below the Bay Area. You get a real city, professional sports teams, cultural institutions, diverse neighborhoods, actual public transit, which is rare in Sunbelt metros. Traffic is bad, but manageable compared to Los Angeles or San Francisco. Commutes average 35 minutes, which is long but not catastrophic. Georgia has no state income tax advantage, but property taxes are reasonable and overall cost of living is low. A $100,000 salary in Atlanta delivers lifestyle comparable to $140,000 in Denver or $180,000 in the Bay Area. Nashville offers a different appeal. It's smaller, about 700,000 in the city proper, 2 million metro-wide, but it's growing rapidly and has distinct economic strengths. Healthcare dominates. HCA Healthcare, Community Health Systems, and dozens of other companies make Nashville one of the nation's healthcare capitals. That sector is recession-resistant and growing. The music industry provides unique character. Whether you care about country music or not, the industry creates a cultural vibrancy that most mid-sized cities lack. Tennessee has no state income tax. That's a meaningful advantage over the Carolinas and Georgia for high earners. Home prices in Nashville run $400,000 to $450,000 median. That's comparable to Phoenix or Austin, but with better water security, no desert heat, and 4 actual seasons. The Metro is building infrastructure aggressively: roads, transit, parks, schools. They're planning for growth rather than just hoping for it. For Tampa refugees specifically, Atlanta and Nashville offer stability Florida lacks. You're trading hurricane risk and insurance chaos for tornado risk, which is cheaper to insure against and less frequent. For Denver refugees, Georgia and Tennessee offer similar quality of life for 40% lower housing costs. You lose the mountains, but you gain accessibility, lower costs, and economic diversity. The Midwest comparison is interesting. Atlanta and Nashville offer everything Minneapolis or Kansas City do, plus better weather and stronger economic growth. For remote workers who can choose anywhere, the calculation increasingly favors these metros. Number 7. Why Midwest metros are quietly winning. Something unexpected happened between 2023 and 2025. Midwest metros that spent decades losing population to Sunbelt cities started winning back remote workers. Not in massive numbers, but enough to stabilize housing markets and reverse decades of decline. Minneapolis, Kansas City, Indianapolis, Columbus, Des Moines. These cities offer a value proposition that became compelling when remote work normalized. Housing costs run $280,000 to $350,000 median, depending on the metro. That's 30% to 50% below Sunbelt metros and 70% to 80% below coastal cities. A household earning $85,000 can comfortably buy a median home in these cities. That same household gets priced out of Austin, Denver, Tampa, and Phoenix at current prices and rates. Quality of life is higher than stereotypes suggest. These cities have good schools, low crime, functional infrastructure, and stable municipal finances. Parks exist. Libraries are well-funded. Public services work. Winters are brutal, but remote workers can travel during the worst months, spend January and February in Mexico or Arizona, then come back for spring through fall when Midwest living is genuinely pleasant. The lack of natural disasters matters. No hurricanes, no earthquakes, no wildfire risk, no water shortages, no extreme heat. Tornadoes are the primary risk, and they're localized and insurable. For families raising kids, Midwest metros offer stability. Schools are strong. Communities are established. Cost of living is low enough that one parent can stay home or work part-time without financial catastrophe. The political environment is more moderate than either coast. For people exhausted by culture war battles and extreme polarization, the Midwest offers a break from that intensity. Cultural amenities are better than expected. Minneapolis has world-class theater and museums. Kansas City has excellent barbecue and a rising arts scene. Columbus is growing rapidly with diverse neighborhoods. Indianapolis has professional sports and a revitalized downtown. These aren't trendy moves. You won't get social media clout for moving to Des Moines, but the financial and quality of life fundamentals work. The migration pattern shows remote workers in their 30s and 40s discovering these metros and realizing they can buy homes, build equity, raise families, and save for retirement without the financial stress that dominates expensive metros. For Sunbelt cities that assumed everyone wanted heat and no state income tax, this migration pattern is a wake-up call. Remote workers don't need your weather or tax policy if your housing costs price them out of building wealth. Number 8. What the winning cities do differently. The metro's winning refugees from the 9 declining cities share specific characteristics that go beyond pure affordability. First, they solve specific problems the origin cities created. Dallas-Fort Worth solves Austin's overpricing. The Carolinas solve Florida's insurance crisis. Las Vegas solves Phoenix's water uncertainty. Sacramento solves Bay Area unaffordability while keeping California access. Atlanta and Nashville solve Denver's cost without benefits problem. The winning cities aren't perfect. They have their own challenges, but they don't have the catastrophic kill factors that broke the origin markets. Second, they have infrastructure that already exists rather than infrastructure that's promised. Phoenix and Austin built huge suburban expansions without corresponding schools, parks, roads, and utilities. Buyers bet on future infrastructure that's been slow to materialize. Dallas, Fort Worth, Atlanta, and Charlotte built infrastructure over decades before allowing expansion. The roads exist, the schools exist. You're not hoping they'll eventually arrive. Third, they offer economic diversity that prevents sector-specific crashes. Austin overexposed itself to tech. When tech contracted, the entire market suffered. Miami overexposed itself to foreign investment and tourism. When both pulled back, the market froze. Dallas-Fort Worth has energy, tech, healthcare, finance, and logistics. Atlanta has corporate headquarters across multiple industries. Charlotte has finance and banking. When one sector struggles, others compensate. Fourth, they maintain total housing costs that align with local incomes. The winning cities keep price-to-income ratios between 4 to 1 and 5.5 to 1. That's the range where typical households can afford typical homes without extreme debt loads. San Jose hit 10 to 1. Miami hit 8.5 to 1. Those ratios are unsustainable. Only the top 10% to 15% of earners can buy. That's not a healthy housing market. That's an asset class for wealthy investors. Fifth, they avoid catastrophic risk factors that make long-term ownership questionable. Florida's hurricane and insurance crisis makes 30-year ownership risky. What if insurance hits $15,000 annually in 10 years? What if it becomes uninsurable? Phoenix's water constraints create similar questions. What if restrictions tighten further? What if Colorado River allocations get cut 30%? Oakland's crime surge makes safety unpredictable. What if it gets worse? What if major employers leave? The winning cities have typical urban problems: traffic, aging infrastructure, budget constraints, but nothing that threatens the fundamental viability of long-term home ownership. Sixth, they maintain migration stability rather than boom-bust cycles. The metros that boomed hardest during the pandemic, Austin, Phoenix, Tampa, are now experiencing the sharpest reversals. That volatility scares buyers and employers. The winning cities grew steadily through the pandemic without dramatic spikes. Dallas, Fort Worth, Charlotte, Atlanta, they all added population, but gradually and sustainably. That stability signals that growth is based on fundamentals rather than hype. Companies making location decisions prefer stability. Families buying homes prefer stability. Investors prefer stability. The boom-bust metros sacrificed long-term stability for short-term growth. They're paying the price now. Number 9, how to choose where to move. If you're considering leaving one of the 9 declining cities, or if you're choosing a destination for relocation from anywhere, these are the questions to ask. Does total monthly housing cost align with your income? Run the full calculation: mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance at realistic rates, HOA fees if applicable, utilities, and maintenance. Divide that total by your gross monthly income. If the result is above 35%, you're stretched. Above 40%, you're at risk. Above 50%, you're in danger. The winning metros keep this ratio between 25% and 35% for median households. That's sustainable. Anything higher requires you to bet that income grows faster than housing costs, which is a risky bet. Does the metro have economic diversity? Look at the major employers. If the top 3 employers represent more than 30% of the job market, that's concentration risk. Check which industries dominate. If one sector is more than 40% of employment, a downturn in that sector will hammer the entire market. The best metros have 10+ major employers across 5+ industries. That diversification provides stability through economic cycles. Does infrastructure exist, or is it promised? Drive around suburbs built in the last 5 years. Are there schools, parks, shopping, full-service grocery stores, medical facilities? If you're seeing empty lots and signs promising future development, that's a red flag. You're betting on infrastructure that may take 10 to 15 years to materialize or might never come if growth slows. The best metros built infrastructure first, then allowed development, or they're developing so steadily that infrastructure keeps pace. What are the catastrophic risks? Every location has risks. The question is whether those risks are manageable or catastrophic. Tornadoes are manageable. They're localized, insurable, and you have warning time. Hurricanes are increasingly catastrophic, especially on Florida coasts where insurance is becoming unaffordable. Earthquakes in California are manageable if buildings are retrofitted and insured. Water depletion in Phoenix is potentially catastrophic because there's no easy solution if Lake Mead drops another 50 feet. Crime in Oakland is manageable if it's addressed aggressively. If it's not addressed and keeps worsening, it becomes catastrophic for property values. Ask, could this risk make my home unlivable or unsellable in 10 years? If yes, that's catastrophic. Avoid it. What's the migration trend? Check census data, moving company trends, and local news. Is the metro gaining or losing net population? Is the gain accelerating or slowing? Be wary of metros that boomed too hard recently. That often signals a reversion coming. Look for metros with steady, boring growth of 1% to 2% annually. The best long-term bets are places people move to and stay, not places people flood into then leave 3 years later. How does it compare to your origin city? Make a realistic comparison. If you're leaving Austin for Dallas-Fort Worth, compare honestly. DFW is bigger, less hip, more corporate, but more stable, and 20% cheaper. Can you accept that trade? If you're leaving Tampa for Charlotte, you're trading hurricanes for winter weather, beaches for mountains, transient culture for stability. Does that trade work for your lifestyle? Don't romanticize the destination. Every city has problems. The question is whether those problems are better than the problems you're leaving. What's your timeline? If you're young and renting, you have flexibility. Try a city for a year. If it doesn't work, move again. If you're buying a home, you're committing for at least 5 years to avoid transaction costs eating returns. Be more certain before pulling the trigger. If you're near retirement, prioritize stability and cost of living over growth potential. The winning metros for retirees might be different than for young professionals. Can you visit first? Spend a week in your target city. Rent an Airbnb in a neighborhood you'd actually live in. Drive commutes at rush hour. Visit grocery stores, parks, restaurants. Pay attention to your gut feeling. Does the city feel right? Can you see yourself building a life there? Statistics matter, but so does intuitive fit. If a city looks great on paper but feels wrong in person, trust that instinct. Number 10. The risks of following the crowd. One warning for people leaving the 9 declining cities. Don't create the same problem somewhere else. Dallas-Fort Worth is winning now, but if too many people flood in too fast, it becomes the next Austin. Prices spike, infrastructure lags, the value proposition disappears. The Carolinas are winning now, but Charlotte and Raleigh are already seeing rapid price appreciation. If that accelerates into a boom, affordability evaporates, and you're back where you started. The migration sweet spot is finding metros that are growing steadily but not booming. Boring, sustainable growth of 1% to 2% annually keeps infrastructure on pace with demand and prevents speculative price spikes. Be wary of cities getting hyped on social media or real estate blogs. By the time a city is being marketed as the next Austin or the next Phoenix, you're already late. Early movers got the value. Late movers get the overpricing. Look for metros that aren't being hyped yet. Cities with good fundamentals, steady growth, and no buzz. Those are often the best long-term bets. Consider secondary cities instead of primary metros. Instead of Charlotte, look at Greensboro. Instead of Atlanta, look at suburban exurbs or nearby smaller cities. Instead of Dallas-Fort Worth, look at smaller Texas metros. You'll sacrifice some urban amenities and job market depth, but you'll gain affordability and avoid the next potential boom-bust cycle. Remember that migration trends can reverse. Austin was supposed to be the future in 2021. By 2025, it's declining. Phoenix boomed for 20 years, then flipped negative. No metro is guaranteed to keep winning. Fundamentals matter more than momentum. Choose based on infrastructure, economic diversity, manageable risks, and alignment between housing costs and incomes. If those fundamentals stay strong, you'll be fine, even if migration trends shift. Number 11. What this means for your decision. If you're currently in one of the 9 declining cities and considering whether to leave, here's how to think through the decision. First, acknowledge that leaving isn't failure. It's adaptation. These cities changed. The value proposition that brought you there deteriorated. Staying out of stubbornness or sunk cost thinking doesn't make sense if better alternatives exist. Second, calculate your actual total housing cost versus income ratio. Include everything: mortgage or rent, property taxes, insurance, HOA, utilities, maintenance. Divide by gross monthly income. If you're above 40%, you're stretched. If better alternatives exist where you'd be at 30%, that's $800 to $1,500 monthly that could go to retirement, savings, kids, college, funds, or quality of life spending. Over 30 years, that's $288,000 to $540,000 in opportunity cost for staying in the expensive city. Third, factor in quality of life honestly. Are you avoiding your own neighborhood because of crime? Are you stressed about hurricane season every year? Are you questioning whether your city has enough water for 30 more years? If the answer to any of those is yes, financial analysis isn't enough. Quality of life matters. The winning cities offer lower stress along with lower costs. Fourth, consider your career portability. If you're fully remote, you have maximum flexibility. If you need to be in specific markets for career advancement, that constrains options. Dallas, Fort Worth, Atlanta, and Charlotte offer deep job markets. Nashville and the Carolinas are building tech and corporate sectors. Sacramento works if you can keep a Bay Area job remotely. The Midwest metros work primarily for remote workers or people in portable professions like healthcare, teaching, or skilled trades. Match destination to career reality. Fifth, think 5 to 10 years out. Will your origin city's problems improve or worsen? Will insurance costs in Florida decline? No. Will water constraints in Phoenix ease? Unlikely. Will Bay Area lock-in effect resolve? Not until rates drop dramatically and stay there. Will the destination city's advantages hold? Dallas-Fort Worth's infrastructure isn't going away. The Carolinas' insurance stability isn't changing. Las Vegas's water planning isn't reversing. Bet on trends that are likely to persist, not reverse. Sixth, run the moving cost calculation. Realtor fees, closing costs, moving expenses, temporary housing. Moving typically costs 8% to 10% of home value in transaction costs. If you're moving from a $500,000 home, that's $40,000 to $50,000 in costs. Offset that against the monthly savings in your destination city. If you're saving $1,000 monthly, you break even in 40 to 50 months. After that, you're building wealth faster in the new location. If you're young, those economics work great. If you're near retirement, they might not. Finally, talk to people who already made the move. Find people who left Austin for Dallas-Fort Worth, or Tampa for Charlotte, or Phoenix for Las Vegas. Ask about their experience. What surprised them positively? What disappointed them? Do they regret the move? Would they do it again? Real experiences from real people matter more than statistics or blog posts. Number 12. The real difference between these cities. By this point, it should be clear that none of these destinations is the best. They're solving different problems for different people. And the mistake most people make is choosing a city instead of choosing the problem they're trying to escape. Let's make that distinction clear. If you left Austin because the city stopped making financial sense, not because you hate Texas. Dallas-Fort Worth is the obvious landing spot. It gives you what Austin promised: jobs, income growth, and opportunity. Without forcing you to overpay just to participate, you trade trendiness for stability. For families and professionals, that's usually a winning trade. If Florida pushed you out, not the weather, but the insurance math. The Carolinas are where people are landing. Charlotte and Raleigh don't feel flashy. They feel livable. Normal insurance, predictable costs, real seasons. For people who want to build a life instead of constantly recalculating risk, that stability matters more than beach photos. If Phoenix made you question long-term sustainability, not just heat, but whether the city planned for its limits, Las Vegas becomes surprisingly attractive. It's still desert living, but it's desert living with rules, planning, and constraints already built in. For people who want certainty more than optimism, that difference is decisive. If the Bay Area priced you out, but you're not ready to leave California, Sacramento is the compromise most people make first. It's not San Francisco. It doesn't try to be. But it lets you stay in California, keep your job, and stop bleeding money every month. For many people, it's not the dream. It's the reset. If your career depends on scale, corporate jobs, big employers, global connectivity, Atlanta is where people end up. It's not small, it's not quiet, but it works. For people who need a real economic engine beneath them, Atlanta offers something many boom cities never built. If you want culture, creativity, and work that travels with you, especially in healthcare or entertainment, Nashville is where many people land. It's growing fast, and that comes with pressure. But for the right people, the trade-off still makes sense. And if what you want most is breathing room, lower costs, stability, and the ability to build wealth without stress, the Midwest quietly wins. You give up mild winters and social media clout. You gain affordability, predictability, and the freedom to plan long-term. For many remote workers and families, that trade-off is worth it. None of these cities is perfect. Each one solves a different kind of frustration. The real decision isn't where should I move. It's what problem am I no longer willing to live with. Once you answer that, the right destination usually becomes obvious. Number 13. The future of American migration. The migration reversal from these 9 cities signals a broader shift in how Americans choose where to live. The pandemic created a belief that you could have it all: Sunbelt weather, low costs, growing job markets, and appreciation potential. That belief died between 2023 and 2025. People learned that cheap cities don't stay cheap if everyone moves there. They learned that climate risks get priced in. They learned that infrastructure matters. They learned that fundamentals eventually override hype. The future of migration will be more rational and less momentum-driven. People will choose metros based on total cost of living relative to income, not just sticker price. They'll factor in insurance, taxes, utilities, and commute costs, not just mortgage payments. They'll prioritize infrastructure over promises. Cities that built before allowing growth will win. Cities that allowed growth hoping infrastructure would follow will struggle. They'll demand economic diversity. Cities overly dependent on one sector or one type of buyer will be avoided. They'll avoid catastrophic risks: insurance affordability, water security, crime management, climate resilience. These factors will be weighted heavily in location decisions. The metros that win this new migration era will be boring and stable. They'll have good fundamentals, reasonable costs, functional infrastructure, and manageable risks. They won't be the hot new cities getting hyped on social media. They'll be the cities that work quietly and consistently over decades. Dallas-Fort Worth, the Carolinas, and select Midwest metros fit this profile. They're not exciting, but they're sustainable. The cities that lose will be the ones that boomed too hard on hype without building corresponding substance. Austin, Phoenix, Tampa, they all followed this path. They promised the future. They delivered volatility. The buyers who left made the rational choice. They went where fundamentals work. That's the new American migration pattern. Less hype, more math. Less momentum, more sustainability. The winning cities figured that out first. The declining cities are learning it the hard way. Number 14. Final guidance. If you're choosing where to move, remember this. The best city for you isn't the city everyone's talking about. It's the city where your income aligns with housing costs, where infrastructure exists, where economic diversity provides stability, and where risks are manageable. Dallas-Fort Worth works if you want Texas advantages without Austin volatility. The Carolinas work if you want Sunbelt living without Florida's insurance chaos. Las Vegas works if you want desert living with better long-term planning. Sacramento works if you need California access without Bay Area costs. Atlanta and Nashville work if you need corporate job markets and urban amenities. The Midwest works if you can handle winters and prioritize affordability above all else. None is perfect. All have trade-offs. The question is which trade-offs you can accept to get the life you want at a cost you can afford. The 9 declining cities offered a promise. Come here and build wealth while enjoying great weather and low costs. They broke that promise. Insurance doubled. Water ran short. Crime surged. Prices spiked. The math stopped working. The buyers who left didn't fail. The cities failed them. Now those buyers are building lives in cities that deliver on their promises. Lower costs, better planning, manageable risks, sustainable growth. They're not looking back. The declining cities are still waiting for them to return. They're waiting for demand to recover. They're waiting for the market to rebound. They'll be waiting a long time because the buyers found better alternatives. They found cities where the math works, where the risks make sense, where the future looks sustainable. They moved on. That's the new American migration story. People following fundamentals, not hype. Choosing stability over volatility, picking boring metros with good math over exciting cities with broken promises. The winners are the cities that built right. The losers are the cities that grew too fast. And the buyers? They're fine. They moved somewhere better. That's how you move smarter.